The mahogany conference table reflected our faces like a dark mirror, fitting, since today would reveal who we really were beneath the family facade. I sat between my brother Marcus and his wife Victoria, watching Mr. Henderson shuffle through Dad's papers with methodical precision. The law office smelled of old leather and fresh grief, though Victoria's designer perfume tried to overpower both. Before we begin, Mr. Henderson adjusted his glasses. I want to express my condolences again. Robert was a good man and a dear friend. Victoria shifted impatiently, her manicured nails tapping against her Kate Spade purse. She'd worn black, but the dress was more cocktail party than funeral appropriate. Marcus stared at his hands, genuinely mourning while his wife calculated inheritance values. "Thank you for coming, Emma," the lawyer nodded at me. "I know things have been difficult." Difficult. That was one word for it. Another might be hell, which better described living under Victoria's reign for the past 5 years. Ever since the car accident that took Mom and left Dad needing constant care, I'd moved back home. Marcus had suggested it. His accounting firm kept him traveling, and someone needed to be there. Someone became me, the freelance graphic designer who could work from anywhere. What he hadn't mentioned was that his wife would be collecting rent. "Shall we proceed?" Victoria's voice cut through my memories. "Some of us have actual jobs to return to." I bit my tongue, a habit I'd perfected over 60 months of rebarbs. Actual jobs. As if the 18-hour days caring for Dad while maintaining my client base meant nothing. As if the nights spent in emergency rooms, the medication schedules, the therapy appointments were just hobbies. Mr. Henderson opened the will. Robert Thomas Mitchell, being of sound mind and body. The legal language washed over me. I wasn't here for money. I was here because Dad asked me to come, in one of his final lucid moments. "Promise me, Emmy," he'd whispered. "Promise you'll be there when Henderson reads it. Everything will make sense." "To my son, Marcus Thomas Mitchell," Mr. Henderson continued, "I leave my investment portfolio, valued at approximately $200,000, with the hope that he will use it wisely and remember that money is a tool, not a master." Marcus nodded, tears in his eyes. Victoria's lips twitched, satisfaction or disappointment. I couldn't tell. Probably calculating if it was enough to buy that Mercedes she'd been eyeing. "To my daughter, Emma Grace Mitchell," the lawyer's voice softened, "I leave my collection of first edition books, knowing she alone understands their true value, along with my grandmother's pearl necklace and my father's watch." Victoria actually snorted. "Books and old jewelry. How generous." "Victoria," Marcus warned, but she waved him off.
"What?"
"We all know Emma's been living rent-free for years. Some of us actually contribute. Rent-free." The words burned like acid. Every month for 5 years, I'd transferred $1,500 to Victoria's account. "For household expenses," she'd said. "Since you're living here, you need to contribute. We're maintaining the property value for when Dad, well, when the time comes." I'd paid it without question, even when it meant taking on extra projects, working until my eyes burned and my hands cramped. 60 months. $90,000. All while buying Dad's medications, groceries, and anything else we needed because Victoria claimed the household account was strictly for mortgage and maintenance. "There is," Mr. Henderson continued, a strange note in his voice, "the matter of the house." Victoria straightened like a hunting dog catching a scent. The house, a 4-bedroom colonial in Westchester, worth at least $800,000 in today's market. This was what she'd been waiting for. "The house," Mr. Henderson read carefully, "will go to the person who has been paying the mortgage for the past 5 years." Victoria's smile could have lit the room. "Well, that's straightforward. I've been managing all the household finances, including the mortgage payments." Marcus can confirm dash. "Actually," Mr. Henderson interrupted, pulling out a folder, "I need to clarify something. Mrs. Mitchell, you've been collecting rent from Emma, correct?" The smile faltered. Well, yes. She's been living there. It's only fair she contribute. $1,500 a month? Yes." Victoria's voice was defensive now. "Market rate for a room in that area is even higher." I was being generous. considering she's family. Interesting. Mr. Henderson spread several documents on the table. Because according to these bank records, the mortgage payment on the house is exactly $1,500 a month. The room went silent. Marcus looked confused. Victoria had gone very still. Furthermore, the lawyer continued, these records show that every month, on the day after Emma's rent payment cleared, an identical amount was transferred from your account, Mrs. Mitchell, to pay the mortgage. That's just coincidence, Victoria stammered. I was using various funds. Were you? Mr. Henderson pulled out another sheet. Because your bank statements show no other significant income deposits. Just your part-time salary from the boutique, which, according to these records, averages about $600 a month. I stared at the papers, understanding dawning like a cold sunrise. All those times Victoria complained about money being tight, about sacrificing to keep Dad's house maintained. She'd been using my rent to pay the mortgage and pocketing the rest of her earnings. This doesn't prove anything. Victoria's voice had gone shrill. I was still the one managing the payments. With Emma's money. Mr. Henderson's tone was stern now. Money she gave you under false pretenses. You told her it was rent, but you were using it to pay the mortgage on a house you hoped to inherit. Is this true? Marcus turned to his wife, his face a study in betrayal. You told me your family was helping with the mortgage. You said your mother. Oh, please, Victoria snapped. Your sister was living there for free. Someone had to be responsible. Free? The word exploded from me, 60 months of suppressed anger finally breaking through. I paid you $90,000. While I was buying Dad's medications, his special food, paying for his nurses when you two were too busy to help. You chose to do that, Victoria shot back. No one asked you to play martyr. No, I said quietly. Dad asked me to come home. Marcus asked me to help. I did it out of love. But you turned it into a transaction. And then you lied about it. Mr. Henderson cleared his throat. If I may continue, Robert was quite specific in his instructions. He knew about the rent situation. Victoria went white. What? 6 months ago, Robert asked me to investigate the household finances. He was concerned about certain discrepancies. The lawyer's expression was carefully neutral. He discovered what was happening with the mortgage payments. If he knew, Marcus asked slowly, why didn't he say anything? Because, Mr. Henderson smiled sadly. He wanted to see if Victoria would do the right thing. He hoped she might admit the truth, maybe even return some of the money to Emma. Instead, she kept collecting, I finished. Every month, right up until Dad died. Exactly. Mr. Henderson returned to the will. Which brings us to the full terms. The house goes to the person who has been paying the mortgage, which, as we've established, is Emma, through the money she paid as rent. However, he paused, and I saw something in his eyes. Amusement? Respect? Robert added a provision. If Emma chooses, she can sell the house and split the proceeds with Marcus. Not Victoria, specifically Marcus, minus the $90,000 in rent she paid over 5 years. That's theft. Victoria stood, her chair scraping against the floor. We've been maintaining that property. Have you? I asked quietly. When did you last visit Dad? When did you fix the leaking roof, paint the peeling walls, replace the broken furnace? Oh wait, I did all that. With my money. While you collected rent for a mortgage on a house you didn't own. Marcus. Victoria turned to her husband. Say something. She's stealing our inheritance. But Marcus was looking at his wife, as if seeing her for the first time. 5 years, he said slowly. 5 years of you telling me Emma was a burden. 5 years of you complaining about having to help with Dad's house. And all that time, you were collecting her money? It's not like that. Then how is it? His voice was rising. Explain to me how you took $90,000 from my sister while she was caring for our dying father. The marriage wouldn't survive this. I could see it in the way Marcus pulled away when Victoria reached for him, in the disgust that replaced his usual blind adoration. There's one more thing, Mr. Henderson said quietly. Robert left a letter. For Emma. He handed me an envelope, Dad's shaky handwriting spelling out my name. I opened it with trembling fingers. My dearest Emmy, asterisk if you're reading this, then Henderson has revealed the truth about the house. I'm sorry I didn't stop it sooner, but I needed to know who my children really were. Marcus means well, but is too easily led. You, my darling girl, have a heart of gold and a spine of steel. Asterisk. Asterisk the books I left you? Check the first edition Hemingway. There's something tucked inside that should help with those student loans you never told me about. A father notices when his daughter skips meals to afford his medications. Asterisk. Asterisk the house is yours, earned through every sacrifice you made. But knowing you, you'll share with Marcus anyway. That's who you are. Just promise me, don't let anyone make you feel like a burden again. You were never a burden. You were a blessing. Asterisk. Asterisk all my love. Dad. Asterisk. I was crying before I finished. Through my tears, I saw Victoria trying to read over my shoulder, calculating even now. The Hemingway, Marcus said suddenly. The Old Man and the Sea. Dad always said it was worth a fortune. It's mine, I said firmly, folding the letter. And, before you ask, Victoria, no. You don't get to know what's in it. You don't get any more pieces of my father or my life. Mr. Henderson began packing up his papers. I believe that concludes the formal reading. Emma, I'll need you to sign some documents for the house transfer. Mrs. Mitchell, I should mention, if Emma wanted to pursue legal action for fraud, she'd have a strong case. Victoria grabbed her purse, fury radiating from every line of her body. This isn't over. Yes, I said quietly, it is. She stormed out, her heels clicking like gunshots on the marble floor. Marcus lingered, torn between following his wife and staying with me. He started. I swear I didn't know Dash. I believe you.
And I did.
Marcus had always been too trusting, too willing to believe the best of people. But you should have visited more. You should have asked questions. You should have noticed that your wife was charging me rent for our childhood home while I was caring for her father. He nodded, ashamed. What are you going to do? About the house. I thought about it, the offer to split the proceeds, minus what I'd paid. It would be fair. More than fair. But I'm going to live in it, I decided. Run my business from Dad's old office. Maybe take in a real tenant to help with expenses, someone who actually needs affordable housing. And Marcus? You're welcome to visit. But Victoria isn't. Not ever. He left without arguing, shoulders bowed under the weight of revelations. Mr. Henderson and I completed the paperwork in companionable silence. Your father was proud of you, he said as I signed the last form. He talked about you constantly. How you gave up your apartment in the city, turned down job offers to stay with him. He knew exactly what you sacrificed. It wasn't a sacrifice, I said. It was love. Yes, he agreed. But it was also $90,000. We both laughed, dark humor being the only kind that made sense right now. That night, I sat in Dad's study, my study now, with the first edition Hemingway. Inside, as promised, was an envelope. Not cash, as Victoria would have hoped, but something better. A savings bond Dad had purchased 30 years ago, now worth enough to pay off my student loans and then some. Typical Dad. He'd known I'd need help but waited until I couldn't refuse it anymore. My phone buzzed with messages. Victoria, threatening legal action. Marcus, apologizing again. Friends who'd heard already. News travels fast in small towns. I ignored them all, pouring a glass of Dad's good whiskey and raising it to his portrait on the wall. You clever old man, I said. You knew exactly what you were doing. Because the real inheritance wasn't the house or the money or even the books. It was the knowledge that I'd been seen, truly seen, by the one person whose opinion mattered. Dad had watched Victoria collect her 30 pieces of silver every month and waited, patient as a chess master, for the perfect moment to reveal the truth. The house felt different now that it was mine. Not a burden or an obligation, but a home. My home. Earned with every sleepless night, every bedpan changed, every story read aloud when Dad couldn't sleep. Paid for with money I thought was keeping a roof over our heads, not knowing I was buying my own future. Tomorrow, I'd start the renovations Dad and I had planned during his good days. Paint the kitchen yellow, like Mom would have wanted. Turn the basement into a proper studio. Maybe even fix the garden he'd loved but couldn't maintain at the end. But tonight, I sat in his chair, reading Hemingway by lamplight, feeling rich in ways Victoria would never understand. Because the real shock wasn't the house or the money or the perfectly orchestrated reveal of years of deception. The real shock was discovering that sometimes, just sometimes, justice comes disguised as love. And sometimes the rent you pay on a house you don't own becomes the down payment on a life you never dared to dream of.